Hi, I'm Dr. Andrew Jones. Thank you for coming onto my podcast. Today I will be answering your questions about the coronavirus and ways you can be safe.
So Dr. Andrew Jones is a board-certified physician currently working at Cedars-Sinai Hospital, which is one of the top hospitals in the country, as well as Beverly Hills Concierge Doctors, the Masters in Molecular Microbiology and Immunology, a bachelor's with double major in microbiology and cell science and chemistry. He worked as a research scientist at the City of Hope for Biomedicine and Genetics, and a research associate at Norris Cancer Center, which is part of the USC Keck School of Medicine, and has taught microbiology.
I'm Candi Marie, and I'm sitting here with board-certified physician Dr. Andrew Jones, and we're here to talk about all things COVID-19, how it's affecting our friends, our families, and how it's affecting you.
There's definitely a lot of information to cover. It's a broad topic. I never knew this was going to be the way it is. I'm surprised, but actually, take a look back, I'm not surprised. We'll get into details why we're not surprised going back. So, affecting me, it's affecting a lot because clinics I work in and so forth, they've cut back on the staff. Patients are scared to go to the clinic. Patients are, they're getting phone calls for their 3-month prescription supplies. A lot of outpatient centers are closed because hospitals are not doing elective surgeries. The census in the hospitals are really low, so a lot of doctors are not working. Doctors are forced to supplement their income by doing online medicine or even flying to COVID-devastated states like New York to work, putting themselves at risk. It's affecting healthcare workers as well. New York is not the norm for everywhere else, thankfully, but it's affecting doctors.
And that's so interesting that you said that, because you would think that there would be a surge in needing doctors, especially in these areas that are surging with patients. I think I've even seen on the news that they're paying doctors like $100 an hour just for their services during this time.
Yeah, as a bonus. But the thing is, like, we keep talking about this, it's all speculation. So when the virus hits, the interesting thing was, we take a step back, why are people scared? So when the SARS came out in 2002, had a mortality rate of 15%. So, but it was under control in 20 months, and everything went back to normal. 2009, swine flu.
Right.
And then 2012, you had, MERS. And in 2019, when they had the syndrome that looked like SARS in China, they sequenced the virus in a few days. They said, oh, this is 80% similar to SARS, so they named it SARS-2. They said this thing is spreading very fast. They didn't have the data, it was too early. They said, so based on these numbers, it's going to kill, if the 15% mortality rate is going to kill 200 million people. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So all the countries got scared. They rushed, they closed their borders, they did what they could. The United States was lacking, so when it got to the U.S., we were caught, so to speak, with our pants down. Yeah. So we got hit hard. And a lot of countries are opening back up and so forth, and we're still, trying to figure things out.
And there was a word that you said speculation. Now that's a word that I feel like we are all trying to find out what the actual truth is about how it's affecting us and what's really real.
It's like I said, a lot of speculation. For example, like first the number was 200 million people. Then when it got to the U.S., a Johns Hopkins professor said, wow, based on the numbers, we're looking at 65 million Americans dying, which sent everybody into a frenzy. So
what do you say?
So I'm saying that the numbers are a lot lower based on that. I mean, I even said in an earlier podcast that it's a lot lower. It's not, you can't compare the flu and the coronavirus. I mean, they're two separate viruses, and they act different. And plus, the thing with the flu is, we have a medication for it, Tamiflu. The flu's been around since early 1900. Everyone's been exposed to the flu. 5 to 15% of the world gets exposed to the flu every year, which is like 700 million people all over the world, which, do the math, based on the World Health Organization website, that's 500,000 deaths per year, compared to
that's a lot of deaths.
COVID-19, which has affected, 4.5 million people and like 300,000. So we're right on par with the flu, which I hate comparing the two.
But are we really, though? Because it seems like people are dying at a faster pace. And I was going to say more rapidly, but... it's just, I don't know, it's so people are going crazy.
They are, and the virus is very contagious. I mean, that's no doubt. And what the layperson doesn't know, there are experts that know this. The lady who sprayed her kid with Lysol after school to kill the coronavirus, she doesn't know.
Right.
The 600-700 people in Iran who drank methanol, which is a type of alcohol, which is toxic to the body, and they died. They don't know.
But is that any different from what our president has made comments about? What did he say? It's like injecting yourself with
bleach. But he's being sarcastic. But people are, when you're scared, all rationality goes out the window.
Yeah,
and so
that's not the time for this.
And he touted hydroxychloroquine, which was supposed to be our miracle drug, which caused more deaths and didn't really help. So it's sad. And so the reason I say that is because the layperson doesn't know. But you have top experts from all over the world. They're sitting home watching TV. Imagine this, sitting home watching TV, their feet up. And this thing's been going on since December of last year. Mm-hmm. And they'll see news reports show that this virus is spread through respiratory droplets. So oh, really? That's interesting, because if you look at the coronavirus itself, it's spread by respiratory droplets. SARS in 2002 spread by respiratory droplets. Regular influenza respiratory droplets. So they're like, okay. And then you'll see next week, news comes out that contact, spread by contact. Like, okay, well, that's the other virus is the same thing. And then you see on the news, it's showing that this virus is dry cough, shortness of breath, and fever. So did the other viruses. This virus can cause diarrhea. So the other viruses. These viruses can cause exacerbation of lung problems like asthma, COPD. Mm-hmm. So can the other respiratory viruses. These viruses can cause your body to go into a hyperinflammatory state that can kill you and put you in a hospital and cause ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome. So can other viruses. We know this. We know that during the winter, every doctor who works in a hospital, they know when the winter time comes, two things. The hospital is going to be full. Packed to capacity. Mm-hmm. There's going to be patients in the waiting room. There's going to be patients in the hallways. There's going to be coughing, sneezing everywhere. The inpatient doctor, which is myself, is going to get a phone call from the ER doctor saying, hey, Dr. Jones, I have a lovely 90-year-old lady from the nursing home. Right. She's on 2 liters of oxygen. They found her short of breath and confused. Chest x-ray shows pneumonia. Can you admit her? I admit her to the hospital. Sometimes they get better, sometimes they don't. The elderly get hit hard and they die every year, unfortunately. Because their immune systems are much weaker, which makes sense. Definitely. Yeah. And then during the winter time, you add another player to this, like coronavirus, that just breaks the system. So now that we're over there's 200 respiratory viruses that cause colds and influenza. Right. Now that we're waning away from that and the influenza season's ending, all we have left is COVID-19. So what you're saying is that this is just like any other virus or disease. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. It is, because if you look at history, there's viruses that they come and they go, but we're always going to have epidemics. Viruses are always going to mutate. And that sounds great, but as someone that's like myself, how do we protect ourselves? That's the question that everybody wants to know, because you've compared these symptoms. How do we protect ourselves? So the layperson doesn't know, but like I said, it's the job of the experts to sit here and say, okay, all 50 states should do this. All 50 states should do that. Not this governor dictates this. This one says we're going to keep our beaches open. This one, our beaches open, but wear a mask. This one, when you go outside, you don't need a mask. This state, when you walk outside, you need to wear a mask. Like, it's... Well, when the confusion is coming from the top, which is your president, how exactly are people supposed to work together? You can't. You can't. People are scared. People are frustrated, and I get it. You're doing what you're supposed to. You're a law-abiding citizen. You do what you're supposed to. You work. You pay your taxes. Right. The government says, hey, guys, stay indoors for 30 days. We don't want to overwhelm our hospital system. Let's protect ourselves, our families, loved ones, and healthcare workers. So you do that. And then when that time ends, they keep extending it. And you're like, well, my life is going to nothing. Like, I'm losing my job. I lost my job. My savings are almost out. My business is going to, I'm going to go bankrupt. We got cabin fever because we're stuck in the house. We're stuck in the house. Mental illness is on the rise. Suicide rate has jumped up 10 to 15%. I mean, people are being affected. So what do you say? I mean, that's what we want to know. Like, we're here because you are the expert. What do you say? What do you think people should do? I know in a conversation earlier you were telling me that you think people should really start to, just live their lives. Well, that's a controversy to ask me, because, I mean, you have the radicals who are like Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. Okay? So there's people ranting on YouTube and all over social media talking about how just let me just go out and do what I want and so forth. And some people are starting to do that. The freeways are
There's
becoming
certain communities that we're seeing that are doing that more so than others.
Yeah,
because certain communities are being affected in different ways.
And the top people in Washington, like Dr. Fauci, say there's a possibility that when you do that, have sporadic people opening up, you can cause a surge in the case of the coronavirus. But what happens is that surge in the coronavirus hasn't come yet. And it's all speculation, to go back to speculation. We don't know. We're making assumptions that the second wave is going to hit. We're talking about the numbers, flattening the curve and so forth, helping people. The hospitals are almost empty right now.
Right.
And to go back to...
So the hospitals are almost empty right now.
Because we're not doing the procedures, we're not doing the surgeries, traffic accidents are down, obviously, because people are not on the road. Kids are not at school playing, so they're not getting sick, broken bones, scratches, lead suturing, things like that they didn't normally get. So a lot of things that you would see in the ER, you're not seeing, which is good.
It's very interesting.
Which is good. And a lot of kids who are staying indoors, so they're not getting exposed to like pollution and things like. And actually, pollution in California, for example, is down also.
I can actually see the sky.
Yeah, so it's definitely a lot, which helps with respiratory illness and stuff. So if you look at, for example, China, the thing that had the numbers go high was smoking. A lot of people trying to smoke. So that was a reason the numbers went up. If you look at the U.S., our numbers went up because of obesity. We're finding out now that obesity by itself causes two things. It causes increased inflammation in your body.
Okay.
And also we have extra weight. You have more weight in your chest, which pushes down on the lungs, which means your oxygen, which is 100% is normal, is going to be lower than that, 95, 94%. So add a respiratory infection on top of it, it's going to drop it even lower. So we're finding out that people with a BMI of above 30, 30 to 34, they have a two times increased risk of catching a virus and going to ICU. If your BMI is above 34, you have a four time increased risk of being in the ICU. 4 times, just because your body's already in increased inflammation. And that's what's getting to us in this country is obesity. China, it was smoking.
Which is what we hear a lot about the citizens of the United States. So that goes back to pre-existing conditions. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that just a little bit, because we've heard that on the news, we've seen it, on the internet. Mm-hmm. What kind of pre-existing conditions are you seeing more and more of that are making people more susceptible to COVID?
So if you go like from decades ago, like 1950s and 60s, obesity was a lot lower. Now we're seeing when your weight goes up, mm-hmm. you have what's called like a metabolic syndrome. Okay. So your body has to try and regulate, and which it can't. So diabetes goes up, high blood pressure goes up, cholesterol goes up.
And this is all because of the metabolic syndrome. Because I want to make sure people completely understand what you're saying right now.
Mm-hmm. So it causes that. And so from right now, I think the last number I saw was 65% obesity in this country.
And what communities are being affected the most?
The community where you have obesity, so in the South, like, minorities, people who don't have access to good food or so forth, good health care, they're the ones who are not taking care of themselves, and we're seeing a lot more of them.
And being two African Americans, a lot of these people are people that look like us. So what message would you say to them? Because we're seeing surges in our very own communities, and we're also hearing about health disparities where Black people aren't getting the treatment that they deserve. And being a doctor, what are your thoughts on that?
Two things. One, you have to be honest with your doctor. Your doctor is not your family member or your friend. You have to make them feel like you're okay. Your doctor is someone you can confide in. So if something hurts, say, doctor, I'm hurting. I have nausea, I'm vomiting, I'm not sleeping. Like when I go to the bathroom, there's blood that comes out. I'm having, be honest. Your doctor is there to help you. Your doctor is not there to be your friend. It's good to have a relationship with your doctor, but your doctor is there for him to help you. It's natural. We have a lot of pride in as minorities that we don't want to disclose things that hurt. But when you don't disclose things, if you get to a doctor's office and they're busy, they're going to dismiss you quickly. Not that they don't care about you, but they're going to.
And why is that? Why do you think that is that you're going to get dismissed quickly? Is it because they just have so much going on, or they just don't care?
the clinics are overwhelmed. A lot of patients come in, so the doctors have to rush through the patients to get home at least an hour. So if the doctor spent an hour with everyone, they won't go home until 9 o'clock at night. And doctors have lives too, so they want to, so they'll spend time. If the patient comes out and says, "Hey, Dr. Jones, like, I have nausea, vomiting. Sometimes I have bowel movements with blood in it," then I make your notes, get the medicine, refer.
But they have to be able to articulate what's really going on with them.
Yes, they
do.
And
I know that we were talking earlier, and you were saying that most times patients really just don't know how to speak to what they're feeling.
No, they don't, and it's the culture.
I mean, when you're used to Big Mama or Grandma or whomever just sweeping their symptoms under the rug because they have to be fine, they have to be strong. I think that's a lot of what we're seeing that being passed down from generation to generation. And then not to mention a lot of these bad habits that we don't know how to properly eat. We're not taught to eat healthy.
No, it's going to have to be retaught how to do things the right way. So.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot surrounding COVID is that we're going to have to be retaught. I mean, there's a new normal that we're
There definitely is with COVID. So it's like I said, this country, obesity is the thing, and there's exceptions. And people say like, there's a healthy person that died. People always look for the exceptions. People always look for the exceptions. But then my response is, you have a college athlete who was playing basketball and he dropped dead and died. That's rare. Had an enlarged heart, but that's rare. You have kids who are catching a rare syndrome in New York and all around the country called pediatric multisystemic inflammatory syndrome, which is where your immune system goes into hyperdrive like days to weeks after, and it causes you to be in the ICU. So that happens normally like 3,000 times in kids per year, 3,000 kids, and the mortality is very low because we treat it. Same thing with these kids. So it's...
And I'm glad you brought that up because there's been a lot that we've been hearing on the news about children that are being affected. And if you want to speak more directly to that, I know there was a young girl in Detroit that was 5 years old that died. She was a very healthy child. Her parents were both first responders. Let's speak on that.
So first thing, let me backtrack. So this term healthy is thrown around.
Let's talk about healthy.
Healthy is a misnomer because you know how many times I see healthy people come to the doctor's office who have blood pressure through the roof, no symptoms, like they exercise, normal weight, blood pressure 190, 200, have to put on medication. How many people who look healthy whose cholesterol's through the roof? I had a patient, 26, came to the hospital with abdominal pain, nausea. He had pancreatitis, which is inflammation of the pancreas. We found his triglyceride level, which is, one of fatty acid. Normal is less than 150. His was 5,000. 26-year-old guy, 5,000. 26-year-old guy, normal weight, active, worked out, everything. 5,000. So we got the nephrologist and the kidney doctor on board. We wanted to do plasmapheresis, which is where we pull the fat out of his body, but we couldn't arrange that in time. So he died. He died, and it was unfortunate. And he was, everyone who saw him was like, "Oh, he's healthy." Healthy is, you can't look at someone and say, if I can look at you and tell you're healthy, then you don't need to go to the doctor.
And I think that's the general consensus that a lot of people think. And let's go back to that word healthy, because there are a lot of people that are testing positive that aren't showing symptoms of corona.
Oh man, this is so I'll just stick to the facts and keep my opinions to myself. When the COVID came to the U.S., and like I said, we were caught with our pants down. Other countries were organized; they had the number of tests. They moved quickly. Social distancing, they moved quickly. Yeah. So because we were caught with our pants down, the administration.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep a straight face when you say that, but
So the FDA had no choice because people were like capitalizing, making money. People were like, taking all the hand sanitizer, binging,
buying everything off of Amazon,
and so forth, and selling it back. And the FDA was like, okay, we don't have enough tests. Like, what do we do? Right. So and companies were like, hey, there's a market for this. Let's go to the FDA and produce a test.
A business.
Yeah. So let's give a test. And the FDA is like, okay, well, we're going to do something we've never done before. We're going to lax regulations. If you can produce 200,000 tests, go for it. If you can produce 1 million tests, go for it. What they're finding out that these tests didn't have the proper quality control in studies, so they were getting false positives. They weren't reliable. Some tests were 60% reliable, some 70, 80. So what that meant was you test someone and it says negative. Then you test them again, they're positive. You test them again, they're negative, and it keeps going. And plus, you don't have enough tests to keep testing everyone. So, and at the same time,
and we saw that because we ran out.
Exactly. So what some people were doing was they swabbed like fruits, animals, and so forth, and some of these tests were testing positive. And that in itself should show you that these tests are not reliable. For example, when a patient goes to the hospital, I'm discharging a patient back to the nursing home. They had COVID-19 positive. So I run the test and it's negative. I have to wait 24 hours and test them again and to make sure it's negative, and then I can release them back to the nursing home. That should tell you, when you run a test, if it's positive, you're positive.
Yeah.
If it's negative, you're negative. Because we've done the quality controls and we know like this test is reliable. If it says you have this infection, you have it. We don't run the influenza test twice. Because we know that test is reliable. We know if we run it, it says you have influenza A, you have influenza A. If it says you have respiratory syncytial virus, you have respiratory syncytial virus. You have enterovirus, so forth, you have that.
Okay, so you have it, right?
Yeah.
You test positive, you have it,
yeah.
Then what?
Then, for example, let's say you're at home. Most people, 25 to 50% of people don't get symptoms. So the CDC said, okay, you go home, no symptoms, you stay isolated for 10 days. So let's say you're positive and have dry cough or fever or just mild symptoms. So the CDC says you stay home until you're symptom free, and then 72 hours after that. And then let's say you have access to a bunch of testing. So you're positive. So then you have to have 2 negatives 24 hours apart for them to say, okay, well, you can be out.
But most people don't have access.
They
and that's
don't.
What we're finding.
And for the tests not reliable, we're still way behind the mark. So what is it, May? So 5 months in, we still don't have enough testing.
Still don't have enough testing. We're borrowing tests from South Korea and many other countries.
A lot of things are falling apart. Yeah, things are falling apart, and people are frustrated. So with SARS, when scientists are working on the vaccine, there's 3 stages of the clinical trials. Stages 1, 2 are the fastest, where you have the drug, you test, find the dose and the safety, and then the third phase is testing on humans and looking at the side effects, and that's like 1 to 4 years.
Okay.
So that's why a vaccine trial should be 4 years, not rushed. So with SARS, they were working on clinical trial phase 1. They were testing, they were getting it, the information, so forth. But once the SARS pandemic ended, then funding was shut off. So they didn't find the vaccines, because just like the flu vaccine is not 100%, it still protects you for the next year and the next year, and it lowers the number of people who are dying.
Because technically the flu is contagious.
It's very contagious.
And SARS was also contagious.
SARS contagious.
But we didn't shut the world down for that.
No, we didn't. But like I said in the beginning, it happens to do with the numbers. People were projecting, oh wow, this is more contagious than SARS. That's why I call it SARS-2. SARS coronavirus 2 is more contagious. So the numbers were 200 million, which sent the whole world into a panic.
Right.
And that's why we were caught, I know you love this term, caught our pants down, and other countries were on point. They had a number of testing, they sequestered people, social distancing, masks. It was a team.
Right. They worked together.
When everyone works as a team, you can accomplish a lot. You can go far. Right. Teams win championships. Individual players do not. So we were not a team. Every state's doing whatever they want. And because everyone's doing what they want, the virus is lingering, and guess what?
Certain areas compared to others.
And guess what? While we're lingering, 2 things: the virus is mutating. It's mutated 30 times so far. And on top of that, guess what's around the corner? Cold and flu season.
Right.
So cold and flu season will be around the corner. So you're going to keep people indoors until next year. That's where we're heading if we don't get on top of this.
Right. Because we're seeing all these new symptoms. I know some of the ones that we've been hearing a lot about, especially within the Black community, minority community, are blood clots.
Yeah, blood clots, yes.
So what do you have to say in reference to that?
So like I said, this is new to the layperson. The thing people don't know is that, let's say you go to the doctor's office with runny nose, cold, headache, fevers, nausea, diarrhea, sniffles, shortness of breath. That's your body doing that. It's not the infection. Your body is causing...
Break that down for us, because I want to make sure people understand what you're saying.
So I'm saying that when a microbe gets into your body reacts to that. And that reaction is to get rid of the infection. That's the purpose. Your immune system causes a reaction and galvanizes the troops and get all the everything together to get rid of that infection, which is virus, bacteria, parasites, so forth. And if you can't do it efficiently, then you have medications that can help also. That's why sometimes you need antibiotics, sometimes you need antivirals, why sometimes you need Tamiflu for the flu, where this person got over it no problem, this person didn't, they needed some help, so you gave them. So everyone's body is different. So your immune system, we already know for a fact that a properly efficient immune system without any genetic mutations or anything can get rid of COVID-19 easily. We know that. We've seen it many times.
Even with the mutations?
Even with the mutations, because your body has an innate immune system which kind of like patrols, and if that doesn't get rid of the virus, then you have an adaptive immune system that adapts to, because these viruses change.
And that's why you were mentioning earlier that everyone's bound to get it at some point. Is that what you believe?
I believe that, because stopping the coronavirus is like trying to stop the wind, especially in this country. And like I said, we don't have a fear. We have a fear of the unknown. We don't have a fear of the flu. And the flu has killed 105 plus kids so far.
Yeah.
People have opinions. It's been around so long, people don't believe in the flu vaccine. They don't vaccinate their kids. All these conspiracy theorists.
And you know what, to be honest with you, I'm not going to sit here and hear you say that without responding to that, because I am one of those people. I'm one of those people that feels like if I get the flu shot, then I'm going to get the flu. And I don't want the flu. So what precautions do people like me take?
So 2 things. I tell my patients, I want you to think about something. I got the flu shot. Your infectious disease doctor got the flu shot. So that should tell you.
But you have to.
No.
Right?
No, I don't have to get it.
You don't?
No, I do it to protect. Because I know, and that's what I'm telling you, like, things that you guys are finding surprising, like, oh, there's carriers out there. There's people who don't show symptoms transmitting. Like, these respiratory viruses have been around for a long time. We know this already. Which is why I'm surprised and disappointed that administration is not listening to the experts or asking the experts, hey, what should we do? Other countries have advisors and so forth, epidemiologists, infectious disease, virologists, people who know their stuff, saying, hey, this is a respiratory virus, we need to do this, we need to do this.
Okay, so do we wear masks? Like, what do we do? Do we just carry on with our lives?
So the first of all, that's not a question you should be asking me. It should be the government saying, this is what the general consensus panel said to protect us, and then everyone does it. China, they did what the government told them, and guess what? China's opening back up. Other countries, same thing.
Let's compare governments for a second. Technically, their government is ran completely different from the way ours is ran. It is. We really can't trust much of what is coming from our president, let alone our government, and that's why our individual governors are taking upon themselves to run their own states.
Yeah, you try to get Secret Service, come get me. Yeah, that happening. So.
Say what the people already
that's not
know.
happening. But yeah, it's how you come together and do everything. And this virus is going to linger. Flu season is going to be here before you know it. And flu season by itself affects 700 million people across the world anyway.
Okay.
So you're going to have, and I think that's going to be the fuel that spikes COVID-19 cases when flu season hits. So.
Well, okay, aside from, flu season coming, there's also something that a lot of people are experiencing, which is anxiety. Most people are so nervous about getting this. Like, how do you deal with the anxiety?
Well, the anxiety is, I do counseling in the clinic and so forth. Anxiety is from you watching the news, you see this like death ticker. This person died, another person died today.
And then it starts to hit home. your grandmother and your uncles
Yeah.
and your friends.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I think we all know someone that has contracted COVID in some capacity.
I do, and the thing is that they don't tell you in the news is like I'm on the front lines, so to speak, and I see the demographics of the people who are contracting it and what's happening. I see people who are healthy. So what happens is you'll have, like for example, a 36-year-old patient had COVID-19.
Yeah.
He went to the ICU, kidney failure. He had a tube down his throat, but then he got better and he went home. 36. A nurse sees that, a receptionist sees that, a secretary sees that, and they tell their friends, hey, we had a patient 36 who had it and almost died and had kidney failure, but now he's better, so they tell everyone, and but the rest of the story, that 36-year-old patient was a truck driver. He was obese.
Smoked cigarettes.
He smoked. He had diabetes, high blood pressure. He didn't sleep. He's eating fast food. He's on the road. Did not exercise.
Not taking care of himself.
He didn't take care of himself. So when the virus hit him, he was like the perfect target for the virus.
He's more vulnerable.
So when the virus is sweeping across the country, it's taking out the people whose immune system can't battle the virus. Like I told you, a person with a normal functioning immune system can get rid of the virus easily. Even when the virus mutates, it comes again, they can get rid of it easy. It's just that the people whose immune systems are weakened, whether by genetics, because kids can have autoimmune processes, so can adults. They can have like different proteins or cytokines that are deficient, like there's complement deficiency, without going into details, and that's when you're exposed. So that's rare, that's a small part.
Okay.
Very small. So if you had most of the people who were, had took care of themselves, the small part would be protected. I hate.
And these are the conversations that are not being had.
No, they're not. I mean, this is like a touchy subject because, when you have a lot of people with weakened immune systems, and when I say that, obesity is just one aspect of it. Being elderly is one aspect of having a weak immune system. Having these rare genetic mutations to cause a weak immune system.
Right.
Cancer also. But then you have like diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol. All of these are weakening your immune system. And then on top of that, anxiety, stress. People are living paycheck to paycheck. They're very anxious. They're not sleeping. They're not exercising.
And if you're not sleeping,
all of
these, not able to.
All of these are adding to a weakened immune system. And then so we have a virus sweeping across. That's what you're gonna get. And I tell my patients, like, you're a nice person, but diabetes doesn't care.
It doesn't.
You're a member of your church and you're doing a lot, but you still gonna have a heart attack and stroke. Yeah. And like your family, because you're a nice person, your family's not gonna tell you to exercise, but I'm gonna tell you. I sometimes fire my patients.
Okay, wait. What does that mean?
It means that I know the body.
Okay.
And I also know about viruses and bacteria, how they can hurt you if you have a weakened immune system. I know all of that. So I went through all these years of school to help my patients. I made so many sacrifices, many sleepless nights, working nights, days, no sleep, studying and reading while everyone else is going out and so forth, so I can help my patients. I love medicine, I love helping people. So if I have a patient and they have high blood pressure, diabetes, they're not taking the medication, they're not exercising, they're not losing weight, the weight's the same or going up, and they pretty much aren't doing anything, then I'm not helping them.
Because they have to do their part too.
Yeah, and we're a team. I tell my patients, like, look, we're a team.
I love that.
And I tell them, like, if we fail, you're going to lose your life.
So it's tough love, your own little dose of tough love.
Yeah, so I tell them, like, look, and like, I try every channel. I refer to nutrition. I do everything. And then if I see we're not getting anywhere, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to find you a new doctor. I said, for some reason or not, we're not helping you. I'm not helping you. And I don't know what the problem is, but I want to find you a different doctor. Hopefully that doctor can help turn your life around, because you're on a path to where you're not going to live longer. I had a patient like that, unfortunately. She's 36. She died. She was overweight, diabetes, and she's just very nice, sweet lady. I worked hard. I was sad when she died. I was sad. I was very sad. I was hurt for a while because I worked with her so hard. Like, nice lady, like kids, like husband was there. Like, you just see she had like this glow. Like,
But she wasn't taking it seriously.
she was not taking it. She wouldn't listen. I tried everything with her. She, even when she was in the hospital, had inhalable oxygen because her heart was giving out. Like, she was very obese.
So let's just take a second, because I think that sometimes we're always hearing from the side of the patient and the people that are contracting, but what is that emotional toll like for you?
It affects you, and doctors are humans too. We're not machines, so we're affected by someone dying. Like, it affects, us. We force ourselves to move on. And one sad statistic that many people don't know is that doctors have double the suicide risk of the normal population. And very few people know that. I mean, like, our jobs are not easy. We're under a lot of stress.
How does it affect you?
Me, I learned from a long time ago that I have things to reduce my stress. I exercise. I try and get a good night's sleep. I try and eat healthy. Have my cheat days. I have hobbies. I hang out with friends, family. I do things to keep me sane so that I'm not building things up on the inside and explode later. Like, I have coping mechanisms. Things I tell my patients to relax. Like you were saying, people have anxiety. I tell my patients, like, hey, it's stressful. Stress is every day you live, there's stress.
Yeah.
Stress can either burst a pipe or make a diamond. You can't control the pressure. You can control which way it goes. So every day I wake up and there's going to be pressure. So I dictate which way it goes. So I tell my patients, like, this is a stressful time. You're at home. You're losing your job and so forth. Turn the news off. Pick up a book.
Right.
Listen to music. Go for a walk. It's safe to be outside without a mask. But in some states, like California, the governor said, I want you to wear a mask outside. And a lot of these policies don't have any scientific evidence to back it up. They're just people doing what they want. And
but nobody really knows. Like, there's so much that's being thrown at
okay,
us.
the governor doesn't know. But like I said, every university across the country, from UCLA, USC to Johns Hopkins, they know. They're watching this and saying, oh, you didn't know that this virus is caused by respiratory droplet. You didn't know that you can have cold, that you didn't know that these viruses can elicit a hyperinflammatory syndrome to cause strokes, blood clots, heart attacks, make asthma. See, you didn't know that? Like, that's what they do.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the mask then. With that being said, let's go back to the mask, because you made a comment. You said that the mask certain masks only protect you 20%. Like,
so here's the thing with the mask. No mask is going to protect you 100%.
Okay.
So you have the cloth mask. People put the cloth, like the bandana.
I'm one of those people.
So that only protects you 20%.
Oh, okay.
The surgical mask, up to 60%.
Okay, I need one of those.
The N95, which I've shown on the first podcast, 95%.
Wow.
So the virus is around 0.01 microns, and this mask blocks up to 0.03 microns. So go look.
Oh, wow.
So, but the thing is it protects you, but it's not going to protect you 100%. Nothing.
95. This is
95.
Okay.
That's going to protect you 100%. The only thing that can protect you is your immune system. So when I said before, you take care of your body will take care of you. It's just the people who have like cancers or genetic deficiencies, or they're like kids with leukemia, they have weakened immune systems. They're vulnerable. That's a small percentage of the population.
Yeah.
Very small. Everyone else who smokes, doesn't take care of themselves, obese, they can control that. Those are what doctors tell our patients, modifiable risk factors.
Okay.
They can control that. And here's the thing. If the majority of people took care of themselves, then the small percentage, they're safe.
Which starts far beyond this point.
And that's why over the years you've noticed we've had more and more outbreaks. Like I said, China, the outbreaks because of smoking. Like, there's going to be another outbreak. So while we're trying to get over this one, guess what? There's another outbreak around the corner. And then another one. So are you going to live indoors the rest of your life?
So we have to learn how to adapt to it.
Adapt, and like I said, cold and flu, the same thing on every hospital. Wash your hands, cover your mouth when you sneeze.
Which is common sense, people.
But people are not doing it.
Okay, so we talked about masks, we talked about washing our hands. I know another big question that people have is, what do you do with your clothes? Do you wash your clothes immediately after? Do you burn them? Do you throw them away? What do you do?
So here's the thing. So the virus is going to be everywhere.
Okay.
Everything you touch, because you touch your mouth, nose, face 16 times an hour on average.
Yeah.
You touch everything. You wear the gloves. You in the mask. You go out. You touch everything, your groceries, so forth. You come back home. Everything's contaminated. You take your gloves off and you touch everything, and then you touch your cell phone, which is contaminated because you had the gloves when you touch your cell phone.
Right.
You touch the gas tank. You touch everything. So unknowingly. So I see all these things transpiring and them but people are not taught the right thing to do. Like, this is something that we've kind of taken for granted over the years.
Yeah.
Because the flu comes and goes.
Yeah.
It comes and goes. We have medication for the flu. We have a vaccine, so we're right there. Coronavirus, your body, this one, SARS-CoV, your body's never seen it. SARS, your body hasn't seen it because it didn't get all across the world, so you don't have antibodies to it. People are making antibodies now, and one question someone asked me in my patients, like, Dr. Jones, how is it that some people will get reinfected? I thought there was
how is that?
So
it's a good question.
That's a very good question. And so what they've shown in the studies with SARS, the people who got it and were immune, they had waning protection over the next 60 months or 5 years. So they showed that the antibody levels were dropping off. That's one. So that it wasn't lifelong.
The antibody levels are dropping off. That's
So which means, like, your body makes antibodies to the virus, it gets rid of it, so you're protected. But then over time, the antibody numbers go lower and lower and lower, and when they get really low, you can get reinfected.
Okay.
The purpose of a vaccine is to mount an immune response, have the antibodies ready, on guard. Kind of like when someone robs you. Let's say someone breaking into your home and the police are right there. Like, they don't take anything, they don't cause a lot of damage, they didn't go through any drawers.
They still broke in.
They still broke, but everything is minimal. You can fix a door, they go to jail. It's done. Same thing with the vaccine. The infection comes in, your body gets rid of it, minimum symptoms, you go about your day.
It's like cough medicine.
And that's what the flu shot. I tell people the flu shot is not to keep you from getting the flu. It's to keep you from dying, and to keep you from ending up in the hospital. You're gonna get mild symptoms and so forth, but you're gonna go about your business, and because your body is ready. Just like that robber who broke the door. Yeah, but he didn't break the window. He didn't destroy your everything. So same thing with that.
So just to kind of close this thing out, I think this has been such a great conversation, very enlightening. I think one of the things that people want to know is this going to be our new normal? Do you see this being something that we're going to have to continue to get vaccinations for yearly, just like the flu?
It's heading that way because it's mutating, and trying to find a vaccine. We've been trying for decades. Not to say it's not going to happen one day. The way science and technology advancing, we probably will have a vaccine to that and the other 200 viruses that cause respiratory infection, and have a good vaccine for the flu that's not just 50 or 60%, but maybe 100%.
Yeah.
So we have some brilliant minds out there who are studying and doing this and working hard. And like I said, the same thing with the COVID-19. The virus is mutating. They're getting infected with a different strain, and they're testing positive again because the tests are not reliable, first of all. The FDA has kind of stepped back and said, we're overwhelmed. Like, the virus is running rampant. We need something. So if you have a test, just give it, we'll use it. Even though it's not reliable, hospitals have to adjust by, we'll test you 3 times or twice. It's, like I said, it's a big mess, and the immunity doesn't last, we've seen with SARS.
Yeah.
So, and over time, the antibodies go down, and also, it makes a difference how much of the virus your body was exposed to.
So that's a thing.
That makes that,
Okay.
that it's kind of like exercise. You exercise a little, you get little results.
Okay.
You exercise a lot, you see a lot of results. So if your immune system has a...
I really appreciate your honesty. I think we're all looking for just a little slice of hope and just honesty and truth. But what I appreciate the most is that you've been so blunt with us. Could you give us a reality check?
Reality check is that this could have been a lot worse. And I know people listening are going to be shocked me saying that. This could have been a lot worse. If this was Ebola or the Marburg virus, one of the other viruses, the deaths would have been 200 million.
Yeah.
So especially with this response that, poor response that we had in the U.S., like it would have killed everyone.
Which is scary.
And as these viruses mutate, one day we could have an outbreak like we did, back in 1918.
Mm-hmm.
When a lot of people died.
We all hope that we don't.
So the silver lining is I think that the people in administration are getting the message. They're realizing that we can't have this happen again.
Right.
Like people's lives are ruined. People are getting stressed out. They can't do anything. Businesses are going bankrupt. So we need to have a task force, or like other countries, where the next time this happens, we can catch it and put a stop to it before it spreads.
We did, but what
No,
happened
we
there.
did have that, and it
Yeah.
was yes, I know it was disbanded, by administration. I know that part. But now hopefully this is a signal that we got to do something different.
Right.
And like I said, when you have people in charge, you expect them to take care of you. Like when you work hard, you have a financial advisor who you trust with your money.
Right.
You have governments in office who are supposed to make sure that these things are stopped. They have experts and so forth, kind of advisors.
Right.
That lady who sprayed her kid with Lysol should not have had to do that. It should not have gotten to the point where she was so scared she sprayed Lysol. Or there are people in Iran who drank methanol. Or there was another couple who ate the chloroquine tablets for their fish tank, and the husband died, and the woman, she was in the hospitalized. You shouldn't have that happen. But it did, and it's with a virus that did not have the same strength as other viruses, thankfully.
Yeah.
So the silver lining is there's a lesson to be learned, not from the common people, because common people don't know all these things.
Right.
There's people who are experts who've been studying these viruses for years, the history, the symptoms, who know all of this,
Right.
who were not consulted, and that's what happened. So going forward, we should have a better response.
Yeah.
Also, and the silver lining is 81% of the people who get it don't even end up in the hospital. They home, sub-quarantine, no symptoms. They get better quickly. 98% of the people who get the virus are adults. 90%. 98% of people who get are adults.
Okay.
8 out of the 10 people who die, unfortunately, they're over the age of 65. So 8 out of the 10 people get it. Kids are still rarely getting it, and they are carriers. So kids are carriers. They're showing minimal symptoms or no symptoms at all.
Okay.
So it's like the virus, like SARS, is sparing the kids. And I would say that COVID-19 did not cause that hyperinflammatory immune response
That we've been seeing
in the news.
Mm-hmm.
The immune system does that. Which is why in my patients, I've been giving low-dose steroids for my patients, because the immune system, I learned immunology years ago. The immune system is good at turning on, it's not good at turning off.
Okay.
So we've been giving steroids for years to patients who are really, really sick, in ICU, septic shock, and hyperinflammatory immune system is sepsis, most common word, sepsis. Someone comes in, sepsis, the immune system hyperdrive, they're in ICU, septic shock, the blood pressure's dropping, they're tanking, they're confused, they have fevers.
And then the steroids does
Steroids help to mitigate some of that.
Okay.
Like, if you give high dose steroids, you're going to shut off your immune system. If you give low to moderate dose of steroids, which one paper in China has shown has help to save lives with COVID-19.
Okay.
A lot of doctors are scared to give steroids because they're like all or none. Like, okay, well, this paper said that steroids increases viral shedding, and I don't want to spread the virus, so they don't give steroids at all. But you have too little, too much, and there's something in the middle. So I give my patients with COVID-19 steroids in the beginning because I know that the worst is going to happen later.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do that, all of my patients with low-dose steroids survive. I've seen that. And I had a conversation with my dad, who is a physician also. He's been doing the same thing. So we had that conversation, and he's been doing the same thing.
He's seeing the same results.
Same results also. His patients are surviving because we know it's the hyperimmune response that's killing patients. It's not COVID-19. That's why COVID-19 goes in kids, and you don't even know they have it. They're carriers. Like, you don't know they have it unless you were to test them, because their immune system can't mount that hyperimmune. The ones with, like autoimmune disease and so forth, they mount that. That's rare.
Right.
That's rare. But most kids, they're carriers, laughing, playing, and you have no idea that she or he, they have it. And they're the ones that's infecting everyone. So when they were talking about opening the schools back up, it wasn't because they were worried about the kids. They were worried about, what about the teacher? What about the coaches, the staff?
Right.
They were worried about them getting infecting other people, and then another surge.
Right.
So that was the discussion with opening the schools back up.
And it's so interesting because in countries like Taiwan, they've set up little pods that these kids are in, and they've seen that also decreases the spread of the virus.
It does. So they're worried about everyone else with weakened immune systems also. So we have to adapt some of these policies and so forth, and we need to do it now because flu season is going to be here before we know it. And I believe that once the winter hits,
right,
that's going to be the fuel to cause a surge of COVID-19, especially with the other mutations. They've shown that the original COVID-19 in China mutated to a more contagious form already.
Which came from, was it in Wuhan?
No, but when it got to the U.S., it mutated already and it was more contagious. So it's still there lingering. And so once cold weather hits, there's probably going to be a spike in cases, which I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. This is the one time I hope.
Speaking of hope, let's end this conversation on a positive note, and let's give our viewers a little slice of hope.
Slice of hope, we're doing what we can. Administration is learning. We're taking actions, albeit kind of slow, and we're getting there. We're working on different testing, like the steroids I told you is working. They have remdesivir, which is an RNA analog, which is showing promising results. That we're giving that also. Convalescent plasma for people who tested positive, who survived. We're giving it to patients who are really sick. They're surviving. So that's hope.
Yeah.
They're working on different treatments. Like, they're pushing things out. There was one company I saw on the news, today's May 15th, at the filming of the time of this podcast, that just came out that a biotech company in California has an antibody that is 100% binds to the COVID-19 and blocks it 100%.
And this is what the results show.
But I haven't done. I'm going to do my due diligence, of course, and read the articles and read the pathophysiology of how that happened.
And we can't wait to hear what you find and your results of it. And that's what makes listening to you so great, is because you're doing the work. You're one of those doctors that care. You're one of those doctors that we can trust. And you're not afraid to fire your patients if they're not doing their job. Well, Dr. Jones, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm Candi Marie, and thank you guys for tuning in.
All right. Thank you, guys.